Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Nebraska fans coming out of the recruiting trail as four-star quarterback TJ Lateef committing to this Nebraska program. And a couple of things that really stand out about this commitment. One, this Nebraska quarterback room in 2023 was, really one of the worst quarterback rooms that we saw at the Power 5 level. You take a look at what this Nebraska quarterback room is going to look like over the next couple of years. Rhule, Danny Kalen. Now you add top 20 quarterback in the 2025 class, TJ Latif. If you're a Nebraska fan, you're saying this quarterback room is massively enhanced from what you saw in 2023. And you got a ton of young arms in this quarterback room that provide this program a ton of upside over the next couple of years. And I think secondly, this was such a well-executed recruitment for Matt Rhule where they kind of identified TJ Lateef as their guy. They made him a priority in this 2025 class, and they lock in the commitment early on. And we love when you get a quarterback in early. He can kind of be that builder of this recruiting class. I think this is a massive commitment for Matt Rhule, this Nebraska program. Want to get into the film of TJ Lateef, kind of talk about what he brings to this Nebraska program before we get into it. And as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to Nebraska fans. Y'all know I love talking this program. We even got a new Nebraska commitment t-shirt on. I can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. All the Go Big Reds you guys throw in the comment section, that stuff means the world. And without further ado, let's get into TJ Lateef. And I want to start with something that I think gets overlooked when you're talking about quarterbacks going to the college football level. A lot of people like to talk about arm talent and size, mobility, and TJ Lateef checks a lot of those boxes. Don't get me wrong, but I think my favorite attribute that TJ Lateef brings to this Nebraska offense, he's just a gamer. When you take a look at the film, and we're going to dive into it in just a little bit, tight window throws, throwing with anticipation, being able to create outside of the pocket. It's kind of that it factor that's really hard to quantify, but you kind of know it when you see it. And I feel like when you watch the film of TJ Lateef, that's probably my favorite attribute he brings to this Nebraska program, in a very underrated attribute at that quarterback position. And you talk about some of the things from a physical trait standpoint TJ Lateef brings. You see him make off-platform throws outside of the pocket. You see him layer footballs exceptionally well. He can drive that football into the middle of the field if he needs to. There's not really a throw on the football field that TJ Lateef cannot make. And you start combining that it factor with all the arm talent and the athletic profile that TJ Lateef brings. I think there's a big-time reason that Matt Rhule, this Nebraska staff, identified TJ Lateef as kind of the quarterback they wanted in the 2025 class. And when you can land your number one target, that's absolutely massive. And Nebraska's done that 2 years in a row, right? They landed really their number 1 and 2 targets in Rhule and Danny Kalen. Now you got your number 1 target in the 2025 class. Very bright future for this Nebraska quarterback room. Want to get into the film a little bit of TJ Lateef. And there's just a couple of things that you really like, starting with, attacking the deeper third. And that was something that, Nebraska struggled with in a big way in 2023, really not being able to access the deeper third. TJ Lateef, dropping it in a bucket there. He is so comfortable pushing the ball down the field, putting it where it needs to be. Again, something that Nebraska struggled with. He's a guy that gets the ball out extremely quick, to a really good processor in terms of going to the spots where he needs to go to quickly. Very quick release, work in the middle of the field. And you go back to that play, that's something that you really want to see at the high school level in terms of getting the ball out quick to those tight windows, working that tight end up the seam. That is the recipe for this Nebraska program. Another really impressive rep here. TJ Lateef going to let this ball out into a really tight window with a quarterback trailing, a safety over the top. He knows that there's going to be a small window where this football needs to go. He's going to have to throw with some anticipation. And this is a junior in high school. Putting this kind of stuff on film, extremely impressive. This ball is out before that wide receiver even gets his head around, going right into a tight window, only where his wide receiver can make a play on the football. Again, you see that anticipation where he's going to work the boundary. This is a very impressive throw going opposite hash to that boundary. You look at this play. TJ Lateef letting this ball out before his wide receiver can even get his head around. His wide receiver gets the head around. The football's right there, right between the cornerback and safety. Those are not only from an arm talent standpoint, extremely impressive throws, but I mean, between the ears too. I mean, the command that he has of this offense, extremely impressive from TJ Lateef, can layer the football really well too. You go back and watch that throw, you're going to see him have some throws where he really drives it in there, but he also has those throws where, hey, he needs to put a little bit of touch on it into a small window, drop it in the bucket, so to speak. TJ Lateef can do that as well. So there's a lot of varieties in terms of the throws that you can ask TJ Lateef to make. You see this play right here. Hey, on the run, off platform, not a lot of separation. Again, a very tight window for this ball to get there. I mean, he puts it right on the money with a lot of mustard on it. There are so many different throws that TJ Lateef can make, small windows in the red zone. Again, ball placement is absolutely exceptional for TJ Lateef. Again, a very difficult throw where he has to throw it over zone coverage, hits his wide receiver in stride. I absolutely love the film. And again, you go back to this throw, there are not a lot of quarterbacks at the college level that are comfortable making this kind of throw right here from the opposite hash to that boundary, throwing it really on a line, hitting his wide receiver in stride. Those throws sometimes get glossed over. Very impressive stuff from TJ Lateef. And you take a look at Nebraska in this 2025 class. Two things that I love from Nebraska. One, just cleaning up their backyard, right? The best players in Nebraska staying home, playing for Nebraska. That's going to be a priority for Matt Rhule. And you take a look at the guys in the state of Nebraska. I mean, your top commitments are all coming from in-state. They've cleaned up their backyard, and now they're going across the country to land some of this talent, going all the way to California to land TJ Lateef. So you start looking at the boxes that Nebraska's checking. You have your quarterback locked in. That's probably the most important box that you have to check. And you've checked those boxes back-to-back years. You're filling out from the state of Nebraska. And then we talked about it the other day, Nebraska putting a priority on top offensive lineman Broderick Rhule on an official visit to Nebraska this weekend. And then we talked about David Sanders Jr., another guy on campus for Nebraska this weekend. We talked a little bit about David Sanders Jr., a guy that pretty much checks every box you want from an offensive tackle. 6'6", 270, 36-inch arms, a phenomenal athlete, carries that weight exceptionally well, has the frame to get up to 310 pounds very comfortably. I mean, there are two boxes that you want to see checked for Nebraska. One is the quarterback spot. They've checked that box. Now they're building through the trenches and really getting some momentum with a lot of top guys on the offensive line. I'm a massive fan of what Matt Rhule is building in this 2025 class. And if you can stack a really good class in 2025 on top of what they brought in 2024, I think Nebraska fans have a lot to be excited about in terms of the young talent that's coming into this program. And you make no mistake, this is how Matt Rhule wants to build this program from the high school class. Matt Rhule is going to use the portal. They did a phenomenal job kind of, filling in some cracks in that roster with the transfer portal. But you make no mistake about it, this isn't going to be a program that's taking 25 transfers every cycle. They are going to build this program from the high school ranks, and they're off to a great start in the 2025 class. Again, to the Nebraska fans, can't thank you guys enough for rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.